Hey everyone, this is Elias from RevMatch Media, and today we're taking a look at the Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy 2.5 turbo all-wheel drive model. Yeah, there's a lot to this. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We get to the front, and this is where the Santa Fe really stands out. Now, we get started with the headlights, and they are LED headlights, except that these aren't the headlights. These actually are. So it kind of has these like false headlights up here, which is a nice little touch. I really love this design. This is probably one of my coolest favorites, because they went a little bit bolder. They said, let's design something different, something unique. So the fact that we have this kind of separate is a nice little touch. And again, we have the daytime running light, kind of has like a T design to it if you were to connect it, but the headlights are down here, nice and bright, very simple light output, but very clean. But it has a great design to it. So we have that. And we have this nice big grille up front. We do have a front facing camera, because this does have the 360 view camera system on it. The camera is extremely sharp. It's really clear. It's what you need it to be. So definitely nice touch with that. And we have the radar for the cruise control down here, which this does an excellent job with that system. But yeah, overall, and we have again these kind of like chrome, like polished, it's kind of like polished aluminum look to them, but almost kind of chrome. So it's a nice design. The silver though, I don't know. I guess you have to have a silver, but you definitely want to get this in a louder color, because again, it's really bold in the front with this design. So overall though, it's a beautiful design. I love it. Nice sculpted hood as well, but it's overall a great design. Let's go ahead and see what's under the hood. We get under the hood and we have the 2.5 liter inline-4 turbocharged engine. There's a lot of space here, so this engine looks really tiny in here, but don't be fooled by the tiny size, because this guy packs 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to their 8-speed automatic and then connected to their all-wheel drive, or their HTRAC, I believe, system. And this drivetrain is really, really good. Starting with the engine, this thing is peppy as hell. There is a ton of power on the low end to really get this big guy, because it's not a small SUV, to get this guy going. And you do have the torque that is just instant. I mean, it's instant, and we have the mid-range is great for passing on the highway. So I'm really surprised by the power output and how it can get the power going to the wheels to get this thing going. Couple of things. Well, first of all, it looks like a pretty big turbo for this engine. It almost looks as big as the engine itself. You do have the hybrid option in this, and I think because you have the hybrid option, this one's gonna suffer in the sense of the eco mode. There isn't an eco mode in this to help with throttle response. So the throttle response on this is almost like if it's always in sport mode. So any little adjustment to that pedal, it will recognize it and, accelerate accordingly. So yeah, and because of that, this is going to get 24 miles to the gallon combined. We are dealing with 21 in the city and 28 on the highway, which isn't bad for what you're hauling a large amount. And the hybrid is going to go down to the 1.6 liter engine. So this is significantly larger than the hybrid, but the hybrid system doesn't give that extra power that, you'd lose because of the larger displacement. So we're talking about like the RAV4. The RAV4 hybrid, or the Prime that we've driven, has additional power on the hybrid. So they didn't make the engine smaller, which is surprising, because if you look at this, you could probably fit a hybrid system in here somehow, because there is a lot of space. But I think I would go with this. Even though I would love the savings at the pump with the hybrid, the performance, the response, the just the sound too, surprisingly, it was a pretty good sounding. And I mean, now that I'm seeing it under the hood, that turbo is massive. Well, relatively speaking, for a factory turbo engine. But yeah, I was really surprised by this engine, and I would definitely go with this one. Well, let's go ahead and see what we have in our wheel and tire package. We get down to the wheel and tire package, and we are dealing with the 19-inch wheel because this is the calligraphy model. And I love this design. First of all, I love the color as well. Having that dark gunmetal and kind of having these polished kind of edges on it as well, or the face, is a nice touch to it. It does remind me of another kind of like a gas burner, like stovetop kind of thing, but it's really good. It's nice, and it is wrapped in the hand-cooked 235 55s, and these tires were great. It's super quiet. The bumps absorb really well with the suspension, so it's a really good system that works overall. So I'm impressed with this. That's what it was made for, so it's great. But again, it doesn't hurt that the wheels have a nice little design to them. Well, let's see what we have on the side. We take a look on the side, and it's kind of a letdown, unfortunately. It's just a big SUV. There's not much going on as far as the overall shape. Nothing that really excites me. I don't know if it's just because that front end is just so strong and so bold that it makes the side just a little on the bland side. Couple of things. We take a look at the front area, and we do see the hood that's nicely sculpted, and we see those lines there. And again, we have those awesome 19-inch wheels that have an added touch to the design aspect of it, or help the side out. Now, again, the overall line is okay, but we do have some nice kind of on the inside, you know, the beauties on the inside kind of thing. And what I mean by that is we do have these great kind of design lines here with the door, which adds a nice little touch to it. So I do like that. Again, the back is a little bit more on the boring side as far as that line goes there. This does, because this is the calligraphy, it does have the roof rails. So if you are wanting to take this out on an adventure, have things up there, you have that option, which is nice. Now, let's go ahead and see the keyless entry. So it is a little bit different. I do have to kind of step away because with this, when you get near it, it will unlock. Now, it's not unlocking because I was close to it and to film it, so that does work though. The other thing is, obviously, you can grab the handle and you can open it, which you're good to go. The one thing I do not like about this though, so I'll lock that, is I cannot open it from the back door. This is a family car, you know, you're gonna load up kids, so it would have been nice if I can just leave my key fob in my pocket and open it from the back door. So it doesn't give you that option. I do have the option of just holding the handle, and then I can open this up in the back. Little things, but definitely make a huge difference, especially when you have kids that just want to go. You want to be able to, you know, be able to load them up and not have to go for your keys and things like that, because your hands might be full. The other thing as well, we do have the option of locking, but again, only in the front doors, not in the rear. So yeah, would be nice to have on all four doors. Well, let's go ahead and move to the back and see what we have there. We get to the back, and this is where I am unfortunately not impressed. The design, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because, again, I keep saying it, but that front end looks so nice, looks so aggressive, so different, that it just makes this kind of bland. There's nothing that really stands out to me. It just looks like a typical SUV rear, unfortunately, because again, that front end just looks so good. But let's get started. So again, we have LED taillights, and we have this big tailgate when we are dealing with the key fob. So the key fob has a good number of things on this. So obviously lock, unlock, and we can push the button to go ahead and open this up. And this is impressive though. So we do have a ton of space in here, and it's not just what you can see, but it's what you can't see. So there is a little door under here that lets you load up even more, which is nice. I was like, okay, perfect. You know, I have a good amount of space because this is a lot. There is a lot of space here. And I thought, okay, now we're gonna deal with, you know, a spare tire under here or the all-wheel drive system that's gonna block, you know, anything. That's why this is perfectly smooth and it doesn't have any depth. But I was wrong, because when I saw that we had two things, I was like, wait a minute. So you pull that one, and again, we have these nice big deep compartments, and it is sectioned in 3, which is nice. I'm able to easily fit my GoPro guy here, so it is a good size that you can put in there. And again, it has a good amount of depth. And then again, we just have this area, which actually has even more compartment, and you have your area for your spare tire kit, or, you know, just flat tire repair kit is really it. So we have that, but it's nice and big. This is what I love about this SUV. Again, we have a lot of space and the width as well. It's really, really good. Nice big Harman Kardon speaker here as well. And we push that little button to close it. And you're set. Now, this has a couple of things. It does have the car park system, which lets you pull in and out of a spot with your button, with the key fob, a couple of buttons. Unfortunately, there is something wrong with the system that it is not letting me actually do it. I would take it to a Hyundai dealer so that they can look at it, but that might deal with calibration, might deal with, you know, repairs, something of the sort that would not let me have this vehicle. So that's why I did not take it to the dealership. And I just said, fine, I'll go ahead and take the car out myself or pull the car into the spot. But it does have a remote start, which is nice. So you just push the lock button and you hold, and it turns on. Very simple. Starts cooling the inside or heating the inside depending on what the outside weather is, and you're good to go. One more thing, the exhaust on this. You guys know how much I hate fake exhaust. Not in this. What you see there, that's actually the exhaust tip. It goes all the way to the end, and the muffler itself is literally like right behind it. So what you're seeing there, that's an actual muffler. It's an actual exhaust tip. It's not fake or plastic, it's actual metal. So good on you, Hyundai, for that. So you kind of redeemed yourself with this rear by having that exhaust system there, or that exhaust tip design there. Well, car's cooling down and it's heating up out here, so let's go ahead and go for a ride. You get inside the Santa Fe and it's actually really impressive. Hyundai has really stepped up their game with their vehicles, especially when they go up to their higher trims where, you know, they can splurge a little bit and add some really great luxury feeling things. So let's get started with the door. Now the door is fairly comfortable, nice positioning, you know, for your arm. Nothing too, you know, too wow. One thing that is kind of like weird, but it's okay, is there's this plastic. There's this hard plastic, but there's also this like soft plastic up here. There's two different plastics. The hard plastic is on the cheaper side, and it kind of looks that way, but it doesn't kind of feel that way, which is weird. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have maybe some leather on there, especially since this is the calligraphy. That would have been definitely a nice little touch there. And we do have the Harman Kardon system on this one, and this system is really loud. It's really loud and it's really clear, and you could use kind of like their little algorithm system that they have, and it actually sounds good. It sounds good. It doesn't sound artificial or anything, or it really enhances the music feel. So definitely that Harman Kardon system is great. Now we get to the steering wheel, and this steering wheel is a nice leather wrap. The steering wheel, it's got the little dimples on the side so that you can grab it well, and it's got a good shape. When we get to the buttons, they're definitely nicely placed. The volume and next track are really good on the left, and the cruise control settings are on the right, and very easy to use. No complaints there. It does have paddle shifters. They're non-existent below, but they do go a little bit higher, which is actually, thinking about it, where I'm placing my hands, that's where most of my fingers are, so it's not a bad thing. But I wasn't really using it in this for the 8-speed in this. So we get to the gauge cluster though, and this is where it's really cool. There's a lot of tech in this, and that's what's great about this, that you can get so much for not that much regarding price. So with this, we do have a nice big, I believe it's 12-inch screen on your gauge cluster, and we have these kind of like vintage white dials right now because we are in comfort mode, and they look nice. They have this kind of like retro clock feel to it, which I really enjoy. It's a nice bright white, and you know, in the middle you can change the different things regarding the distance with cruise control. You have your driving info as far as like MPGs and all that stuff. Nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing really that stood out that's different than your usual controls, which is fine. At the bottom, we do have the miles per gallon, kind of this like little bar, which is nice to have, so that it's always there. It's out of your sight as well, or out of the way of other things, so that way you don't have to sacrifice your middle area to see that gauge. So I really love that. It's a small little detail, but a lot of times I like to have the MPGs, you know, just to give you guys an idea of kind of what I get, and or make myself behave and things like that. But I don't like the fact that I sometimes have to sacrifice not being able to see my tire pressure, which on a road trip is really crucial, making sure that all your tires have air and are not losing air. So that's nice to have at the bottom there. Now what's really cool about that is we'll kind of skip ahead a little bit, but if I switch it to sport mode, it does this like weird trend. It's kind of not weird, but really like cool, like almost spaceship like transition, which is really nice, and it makes your gauges turn to like a carbon fiber pattern and the red kind of outline to them. When you switch back to comfort mode, it does kind of this blue transition back into the white background of the gauges. So that's nice there to have. Another thing that I really love about Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis is their use of their mirror cameras. So with this having that 360-degree view, when you turn your turn signal, it is going to use that camera on the mirrors and show you who's on your left and who is on your right. So it is a nice thing to have. It just makes that experience way better and safer. It's safer too, because obviously you can use that to make sure that there's no one in your blind side. But there's more to this. This actually has the heads-up display, and it actually shows you your blind spots. So if there's someone in your blind spot, it will show a little car, and it will indicate on which side they are on. So it's technology that's useful and makes your drive safer. So definitely that's a nice little added thing, because again, I don't even have to look down for the camera. I can look straight and obviously preemptively see, okay, I know there's already someone on my left or someone on my right. If I'm going to turn left, I turn my signal on, I can look at the camera really quick and then actually physically double check with using the actual mirror. So nice little touch, nice little safety things, nice technology touches that make this a great little, actually a pretty big SUV, spacious SUV. So we have that. Now coming over to the infotainment system, it's nice. It's a nice big screen, and we're in Apple CarPlay at the moment. Couple of things that I was kind of like, with this. So this is again the Harman Kardon system. With the Apple CarPlay, it does not take up the whole screen. So you can see here, it only is going to take this little section up, and on the right side we have a split screen. So it's essentially a split screen. Now obviously when you get out of CarPlay and you're like in a menu for the system, it will use the whole screen up, but it does have this. At first I was like, no, I want the whole Apple CarPlay. But then I was like, wait, that's actually really good because it lets me have something else going on, and I can have my music and something else going on. I can use this little area for the temperature. Right now it's 73 and it's giving us the forecast, not just the current temperature, but what the forecast will be for today. And you can swipe up and you have passenger talk, which we'll get to in a bit. And we have the compass, your time nice and big there, so I don't have to deal with trying to see that little number. It's nice and big. And you have the GPS as well, the built-in GPS for the Santa Fe, which is a nice little thing to have. So we'll keep it in the weather. Actually, we'll go back to passenger talk. Passenger talk is really cool. It's, you got kids, you want to talk to them, you don't want to turn around so that they can hear you better. You are able to activate it. It will turn off the music, and you can, it's essentially intercom. It's essentially an intercom. So nice little feature to have if you have kiddos or you have a full back seat. So the other thing as well with this, again, it has all the Hyundai kind of features with the interface. There's a lot of great little things. It's a very simple system to use. But what I like about their system, same thing with the Genesis, like I've driven before, is that they have these kind of like hidden gems. It's not things you really need or crucial to get to, because you can get to those other things really easy, but they're just these little things here and there that really make it kind of that wow experience. One of the cool things that I really like, it's kind of a gimmick, but it's fun, is the sounds of nature. So you are able to actually add a lively forest to this. So we have a lively forest or sea waves. Yeah, it's raining. Now they may kind of seem like gimmick, but what if you have a kiddo that, you know, has to fall asleep to rain or just some noise or the sea, something to calm them? It's a great little touch to have. I say that because my wife, as a kid, she told me that as a kid, the only way for her to go to sleep is to go out on a drive. And as an adult, it still happens. So whenever we go on a road trip, it's very easy for her to knock out on a road trip. So yeah, that's a nice little touch for those kiddos that need a little bit of noise and want to fall asleep, or just something relaxing for your passengers. Just make sure as a driver, you are very alert. So again, those little things like that really make the experience pretty nice. It makes it really, really nice to have in this Santa Fe. We get down here to what I'll call the command center, because there is a lot of buttons here, but it's not overwhelming. It's actually very easy to use. It's very well laid out. So at the top, we have your quick buttons. So again, if you want to go into like the map or the navigation, your favorite that you can set up there with the little star, radio, media, setup, that situation. Very easy, very straight to the point. No complaints there. You have your volume knob, you have your tune knob on there. Again, a very simple design. Then we have your AC controls, which again, very simple, very to the point, very obvious as to what they are. Till I saw that auto had 3 little buttons or 3 little lights. So the auto button has 3 little lights, and it's the level of auto-ness that you want, or actually the speed, so to speak, or the aggressiveness to the AC. So if it's really hot, like today, we'll probably hit about 100 degrees, even though it's saying 73. And with that, you know, if you put auto and you leave it on the 3rd setting, it's gonna blast the coldest air possible and at the strongest possible amount. But if you press the auto, you can reduce it. That is, it'll still get you to that goal, or still try to get to the temperature that you set in the dual climate, because this does have dual climate, but it won't be as aggressive to get that temperature going or get to that temperature. So it's a nice little touch. It's that little extra that really sets this SUV apart, which is nice to have. And then we get to the shifter, yeah, or gear selector, I guess is probably the better wording. They're buttons. They're big buttons. They're big buttons. You have the park, you have reverse, neutral, and drive. There is no manual mode because there's, well, actually there is with the paddles. You would have to initiate it, but there's no sport setting for the transmission. There is for the overall vehicle. But it is a nice little touch. It's a different thing. So you do have to kind of get used to it if you've been shifting with, you know, a shifter. So it's a little bit different than the knob. The knob is also, it's fairly easy to get used to. This has taken me a little bit longer than normal to get used to when I want to switch from, you know, obviously from one gear to the next. But it's nice. It's a nice thing. It makes it simple. It makes it nice and compact. There's not much going on here. Leaves room for other things. And we get to the right side, and that's where we have a lot of the driving mode kind of things. So we have the auto on and auto off. So when you're stuck in traffic, it'll turn off the engine to save gas. But in this one, it's a little aggressive when it turns on. So you will hear it, you will feel it. I'm not a big fan of this one. So I was surprised at how, I mean, it's a bigger engine. It's a 2.5 liter. So it does take a little bit more wiggle, so to speak, to get it going. So you do feel that. Yeah, I've been kind of biting my tongue of not turning it off, but I do want to consume as least possible gas as possible to, yeah, make the most out of the miles in this. And then we have the auto hold, which is always a nice touch. In this, we have the heated steering wheel. Forgot to mention that. So this does have the heated steering wheel. We have your hill descent, which is nice, your parking kind of sensors, and then we have that parking camera system, which is, yeah, like I mentioned, it is not working. When I push the button to use it, it is telling me to check with the dealership, I believe. And yeah, I'm limited on time with this guy, so I'm gonna enjoy it and just be normal and park it myself. I mean, it would have been nice, the smart pack, I think it was good. Yes. So I would have loved to use that, but I've seen it. It's actually a pretty cool feature, especially when you're in really tight spaces. So yeah, wish it worked in this. And again, with the this has the heated and the cooled seats. Forgot to mention that with the seats. But they are really comfortable. They're extremely comfortable, no complaints. You know, they're really adjustable. And I mean, the diamond pattern on the leather is so nice. It is just a really plush but very sturdy feel to the seat. It's not a big lazy boy that you'll just kind of super sink in and it'll be kind of mushy. No, it's got its firmness, but it's a good feel to the seats. So definitely love it. And the fact that it's heated and cooled, yes, heated and cooled or vented, is really nice. So especially again with these higher temperatures. When we get to the cup holders, we do have two cup holders. They are kind of staggered, so they're kind of like little stadium seated cup holders. They're fairly big. They will fit a good sized cup in there, no complaints. We have the USB connection so that we can use the Apple CarPlay, and this does have wireless charging. Does not have wireless CarPlay, so you're not going to get wireless CarPlay, but it does have a really cool charger, wireless charger. What I like about it is it's upright, and I thought, okay, maybe it's not going, you know, it's kind of like this, like a credit card slot, or yeah, it's kind of like a credit card slot. You just kind of put in there, and it kind of has this like spring-loaded little door, and it pushes it so that it's touching against the actual charger. That's brilliant. That's brilliant, because it's really here. I would have loved this to have wireless CarPlay. Again, that would have been really amazing, because at that point I don't have to run this cable to get it to interface with the system. But yeah, that's a nice, I love this little wireless charger. It's a really great addition, and it doesn't take up space. That is the biggest thing. It takes up a really small amount of space compared to these other chargers that are a flat pad, and you're needing to take up that amount of space. We get to the armrest and it's good. It's a pretty deep armrest, so you have good space for things in there. We get to the back and the back is actually really spacious. Kiddo seat, no problem. My favorite thing about this back seat, it reclines. Yes, so your passengers in the back can enjoy a little bit more relaxation and be able to recline their seat instead of just being super upright, which can be the problem with some back seats. So really, really, really nice thing to have. I love that for my passengers because obviously I'm gonna be driving, but it's a nice feature for them to have on there to enjoy the ride with you. And also, the windows in the back do have that privacy, or the peasant screen as some people call it. The peasant screen that does block out some of the sun, which helps out with, obviously, you know, your little ones and being able to relax, and if they need to go to sleep, they're able to and not have a blaring sun in their face. So it's a nice little feature to have, nice little option. We get to the trunk, and the trunk is big. The trunk is massive. You have so much space in the back for all the groceries. It really is a good sized area. What's great about it as well is under that kind of like cover, one of the covers, you do have the spare, or actually in this case it has a repair kit, but you have this area where you have like these compartments for additional storage. So tons and tons of storage space for this trunk. One other awesome thing with the Santa Fe is the massive panoramic sunroof. So this does have a really massive window, and I like that the little shade that it has is a solid shade. So it isn't like that like dimpled thing or material that can still let some heat and light in. So it's a completely solid fabric, which is good. I prefer that than having those little, you know, openings or that mesh. It's more of a mesh kind of materials. Now, let's talk performance. We have the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine in this. It is turbocharged. It is connected to an 8-speed auto, and it is connected to an all-wheel drive system, to Hyundai's all-wheel drive system. Now, the engine is cranking out 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. That's actually pretty crazy. That's actually a pretty good amount of power, especially in a vehicle like this. You rarely see something like 200 horsepower out of something this size. So the fact that we have that added 80 horsepower and the 311 pound-feet of torque is really a nice bonus to have. Couple of things. Again, with the drive modes, we do have comfort, we have sport, we have snow, and we have the smart. The smart is gonna switch between comfort and sport. That's kind of what it's gonna do. Unfortunately, it does not have an eco mode. With it not having an eco mode, the throttle is very responsive. It is instant. When, you know, whatever amount that you put in, it's instantly giving you that amount in power, which can be a good thing, but also a bad thing, because if you're wanting to just accelerate a little bit, or if you accidentally blip it, yes, blip the gas, it's going to respond to that. And, you know, normally in an eco mode, it would have ignored that and help you save gas. Not in this, which can be, I think, maybe a little bit of a downfall to the gas mileage that this can get. I was surprised at how peppy this thing is. It can get going, especially in areas where you need it. That highway passing, the low end, you know, initial bite, it's actually really good on the low end. The power is there. I don't feel a turbo lag, which is nice, because off the line it has, like I said, it has a good amount of power. Mid-range has it. It does suffer a little bit once you start to get into the 6,000 range, but that's because that's where the peak power does start to fall off. Actually, about 5,500. It does start to fall off there, and it goes all the way down to a 6,500 RPM red line. But it's surprisingly good. I keep saying that, but it's so true at how good this is with the performance. Another thing I want to mention with the performance of this is the safety. So this does have the lane keep system. It does have adaptive cruise control. So all of those things, and they work really well. I did go on some twisty roads with the lane keep assist kind of situation, or you know, where the wheel kind of helps you make sure you stay in your lane. What I love about this is that it's not aggressive. It's not aggressive, but it's extremely proactive. What I mean by that is, the moment you turn it on, it's already analyzed the road and sees that and is already making micro adjustments. That is the huge thing, but it's extremely micro adjustments to the fact that you don't even realize that the system is on till you kind of let go of the wheel a little bit and you see the car move just slightly. Again, obviously, be safe. Be ready to hold on to the wheel, because it will warn you, and it, you know, safety first, guys. But but it was surprisingly good, and again, it's just micro adjustments. It didn't wait till I veered off too much and then slam, you know, throw the wheel to the center, which then offsets this, and you're just doing this in your lane. It's really, really good, and I can probably set it up now. And again, my hands are basically on the wheel, but it's good. It stays in its lane, but just be aware that when you start to get, it starts blinking already. And it's like, I'm not going to be able to do this turn here, or especially these turns here. It is already blinking there, but it's a really good system. But overall, guys, this SUV has been extremely impressive. I'm surprised. I'm surprised by this, and this is really, really nice to have if you're looking for an SUV. Seats 5, has massive amount of space in the trunk, and it's a nice little luxury feel to it. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed my review. I've actually had a good blast in the Santa Fe. And remember, find the right gear. See ya.